Have you ever looked at your life late at night and quietly asked yourself, what am I even doing? Not in a dramatic way, not because something terrible happened, but because deep inside something feels off, like you were meant for more, but every day starts looking the same. You wake up tired. You check your phone before your eyes are fully open. You scroll through people showing perfect bodies, perfect relationships, perfect lifestyles, and without realizing it, your brain starts believing that everyone else figured life out except you, and slowly, without noticing, comparison becomes part of your identity. You stop living your own life because you become obsessed with watching other people live theirs. And the scary thing is that modern life rewards distraction. Every app fights for your attention. Every notification trains your brain to seek instant stimulation. Most people today cannot sit alone with their thoughts for 10 minutes without feeling uncomfortable. That's why silence feels dangerous now, because in silence you finally hear yourself, and many people spend their whole lives avoiding that moment. They stay busy not because they are productive, but because they are afraid of confronting who they really are. Philosophy talked about this long before social media existed. Ancient thinkers understood something that people still struggle with today. If you do not control your mind, the world will control it for you. Think about how many opinions you carry that are not even yours. The way you define success, the way you judge yourself, the timeline you think your life should follow. Most of it was downloaded into your brain by society, school, social media, strangers, trends, and expectations. Somewhere along the way, people stopped asking themselves what they truly wanted. Instead, they started chasing lives that simply looked impressive online. And that creates a strange kind of emptiness because humans are not built to live for appearances. You can fool the internet, but you cannot fool yourself. Deep down, you always know when you are abandoning your real potential. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, constantly reminded himself that external things mean nothing if your inner world is weak. Imagine that. A man with power, money, armies, respect, and influence still spent his time writing notes about discipline, emotions, and self-control. Why? Because he understood that the hardest battle is never outside of you. It is inside you. Most people think their enemy is lack of money, or lack of opportunities, or bad luck. But often the real enemy is self-doubt mixed with distraction. A person who cannot focus will always feel powerless. A person who constantly escapes discomfort will never discover their strength. And maybe that is why your generation feels exhausted all the time. Not physically, mentally. Because your attention is constantly fragmented, your brain never rests. You consume thousands of opinions every single day. You compare your beginning to someone else's peak. You pressure yourself to become successful instantly. And when it does not happen fast enough, you secretly start believing you are failing. But real life has never worked that way. Nature itself moves slowly. Trees take years to grow. Muscles take months to develop. Trust takes time to build. Meaningful lives are created gradually, not overnight. Yet modern culture convinces you that if results are not immediate, you should quit. That mindset destroys people before life even begins for them. Because the moment you become addicted to instant results, consistency becomes impossible. You start something new with excitement, but the second it becomes difficult, your motivation disappears. Then you blame yourself. But motivation was never supposed to carry you forever. Discipline does that. Philosophy teaches that emotions are temporary, but principles create stability. Some days you will feel inspired, other days you will feel empty. But your future cannot depend on temporary emotions. It has to depend on habits. Small repeated actions shape identity far more than motivation ever will. The uncomfortable truth is that most people already know what they need to do. They just do not do it consistently. They know they should sleep better, learn more, train harder, stop wasting time, stop scrolling endlessly, stop avoiding difficult conversations, stop procrastinating. But knowledge without action changes nothing. Wisdom only matters when applied, and that is where most people stay trapped for years. They consume self-improvement content every day without improving anything. They watch motivational videos while remaining inactive. They mistake inspiration for transformation, but inspiration without execution becomes another form of entertainment. Seneca once said that people suffer more from imagination than reality. Think about how true that is. Most fears never even happen. Most disasters exist only inside the mind. Yet, people spend years imprisoned by scenarios that never become real. Fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears silently control millions of lives. Some people never start businesses because of them. Some never approach the person they love because of them. Some never pursue their dream because they are terrified of looking foolish. But the irony is that avoiding failure usually creates the biggest failure of all, regret. There is something deeply painful about knowing you betrayed your own potential. And many people feel that pain every night before sleeping. They distract themselves during the day, but deep down, they know they are capable of more. You can feel it. That version of yourself exists somewhere in your mind. The disciplined version, the focused version, the courageous version, the healthy version, the successful version. But every day you ignore that person, life starts feeling heavier. Because humans are not designed to live disconnected from their potential. That disconnect creates anxiety, frustration, and emptiness. And society often makes this worse by teaching people to avoid discomfort at all costs. But discomfort is not always bad. In fact, almost everything valuable in life requires discomfort first. Building confidence is uncomfortable. Going to the gym is uncomfortable. Studying is uncomfortable. Starting over is uncomfortable. Being disciplined is uncomfortable. Facing your trauma is uncomfortable. Speaking honestly is uncomfortable. But avoiding those things creates an even deeper pain later. Temporary discomfort creates growth. Permanent comfort creates stagnation. One of the biggest lies modern culture tells people is that happiness comes from comfort alone. It does not. Comfort without purpose eventually becomes emptiness. That is why people can have entertainment available 24 hours a day and still feel miserable. Human beings need meaning. They need challenge. They need movement. They need progress. Without those things, life starts feeling emotionally numb. Philosophy understood this thousands of years ago. The Stoics believed meaning comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling yourself within the world. And honestly, that idea becomes more important every year because modern life constantly encourages emotional weakness. People today react emotionally to everything. One bad comment ruins their mood. One rejection destroys their confidence. One difficult week makes them want to quit. But emotional resilience is like a muscle. If you never challenge it, it stays weak. And a weak mind suffers more than necessary. Strong people are not people without emotions. Strong people are those who refuse to let emotions control their actions. They feel fear but continue moving. They feel anxiety but continue building. They feel uncertainty but continue trying. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear. Imagine how different your life could become if you truly understood that. Imagine if you stopped waiting to feel perfectly confident before starting. Most successful people did not begin because they felt ready. They began because staying the same became more painful than changing. That moment changes everything. The moment where your excuses stop sounding convincing even to yourself. The moment where you realize nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is secretly planning your future for you. Nobody owes you success. Nobody owes you discipline. Nobody owes you purpose. And strangely, that realization is freeing, because if nobody is coming to save you, then your future is finally in your own hands. A lot of people spend years blaming circumstances for their unhappiness, and sometimes circumstances really are unfair. Life can absolutely be brutal. Some people are born into chaos, poverty, trauma, or loneliness. Philosophy never denied suffering. In fact, philosophy begins by accepting that suffering is part of life. But what separates strong people from weak people is their response to suffering. Some people let pain destroy them. Others let pain transform them. The exact same struggle can either become your excuse or your strength. That decision belongs to you. And maybe nobody told you this before, but healing and growth are not always beautiful processes. Sometimes growth feels lonely. Sometimes discipline feels exhausting. Sometimes improving yourself means losing people who only loved the weaker version of you. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some people become uncomfortable when you start taking your life seriously because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. That is why self-improvement often requires distance. You cannot build a different future while staying emotionally attached to everything keeping you in the past. At some point, you have to decide what kind of pain you are willing to live with.